All right, should be good.
Okay. All right. So we've got the YouTube broadcast going, and just for the record, since Diane, the new chair, is in Africa for about a month, I'm carrying out her chair duties for this call in Diane's absence. And as I understand, since I'm just carrying out the chair duties and not obviously the chair, that I can vote as a normal member. Someone let me know if that's differently, but that's what I understand. And again, just verifying attendance. We've got quorum today. We've got all members except for Diane in attendance. So the first item on the agenda is to approve the November authority minutes. I think everyone got that from Angela yesterday. I want to just take just a minute to make sure you're okay with that.
I'll make a motion we approve.
Okay, anybody second? Les seconds. Okay. All right, just as a vote, everyone approve the minutes, just raise your hand for November. Looks like we have everyone, all members in approval. So November 2020 authority minutes are approved. Next item is chairman update, and this is just brief. Diane just had a little note she wanted to share. Again, she's in Africa. I think when she wrote this note a few days ago, she was actually in Kenya and Tanzania in the bush, she said. She'll be back in the U.S. Sunday. She really doesn't have any connection right now to the rest of the world, not very well by email or very limited by phone or text. One thing that she was just wanted to pass along is this, you know, Diane's pretty heavily involved in the Lexington Road project. So she is encouraging everybody to try to be involved and give input regarding for the airport's sake or whatever with the Lexington project. The input is starting soon. That's a item down further down under D, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But that's it as far as the notes from Diane. Any questions with that? Or next item is C, airport manager reports. Mike, I guess we'll turn it over to you, and we'll start with the financial operations report.
All righty. Robert, you may need to mute. I think we're hearing something in the background. I think everybody else is muted except myself. But can you hear me, Robert?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Say again, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, you probably need to mute because we can hear something in the background.
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay.
Okay.
Is that better?
We're still hearing something.
Yeah, he's not muted.
Right.
You're not muted? Okay.
Is that better?
Yes, that's better. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, I'm juggling things here.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, let's go to the November financial report since we didn't have a meeting last month. We had fuel sales, avgas 31,000. Looking at the actual, Jet A 94. Still down, of course, you know, for reasons we know. But it's all relative. If you look down at our cost of goods, we didn't have any fuel sold cost rather in November for avgas. We did have 42,000 for jet. So our, you know, all in all, we still have some pretty good sales in November. And, you know, a lot of that was the football season still, even though it was, you know, very slim as far as participation with the fans. And also, I think there were a few that were canceled as well. But we did have what charters we did have was good. We also had a good bit of corporate that came in prior to the holidays, I guess, doing whatever they do to button up the year. So all in all, it was really good. As you can see from the bottom line, again, this bottom line, I always like to let everybody know that it doesn't include depreciation, which is the big part of it. So this is just pure revenues and expenses. So we had 59,000 in revenues for that month, brought us up to 20,380 for the year to date. So it was pretty good. I mean, you know, I was pleased. Looking at the gallons sold, we had avgas gallons down for obvious reasons. I think the weather, we had some weather in November as well. The Jet A down. We had the good months with Gwinnett shut down. But if you look, you know, Gwinnett was September and October. If you look at August and even July, I mean, if you're really looking at July, August, and November, those are the more accurate, you know, less skewed, I should say, because of Gwinnett being shut down. We do have an increase, you know, in jet, and that's what we've seen pretty much each month. And then our operations, again, not looking at September and October because that was Gwinnett's, but if you look at July, August, and November, you can see it's steadily climbing as well. So those are good trends to see, most definitely. Let's see, I won't show the charts in these. I'll just go straight to December, and then we can look at December's charts. Okay, so here we are in December. We got fuel sales, as you can see, still down compared to our monthly projections, but again, in the scheme of things, you know, what you sell, what you don't sell, you're not going to buy fuel for. So like I said, it goes hand in hand. So if you're looking at our cost of goods, 25,000. We didn't have anything in November, so that makes me think, and almost certain we had something at the beginning of the month and a couple others, but that's probably one load right there, actually. And then the Jet A, 38,000. So we did have, let's see, I talked to Keith about this the other day. I want to bring up airport maintenance. That's up, and we had some work done on the heating and air unit in the firehouse, so that caused that to increase. We've been doing a little bit of work on our generators too, but the majority of that was the heating and air unit in that building. And then going on down to the bottom line, you'll see the total revenue expenses at 3,000, almost 4,000, which, you know, it's still a positive number, and I'm thankful for that. And our year to date is slowly increasing. The December, our fiscal year is right at the 50% mark. So this is what we've got right now. Moving on down, you can see the trends increasing in avgas, which is good. Jet, December, you know, December is always going to be slow because of the holidays. Corporate just doesn't fly. So that's down. And then that, of course, that makes the operations look less as well. So let me go up here. Okay, so these are the operations here. Let me go on down, show you those. We've got actual month, as I showed, 2009-12. Actual year to date, and our annual budget is right there at, let me get there, about 35, a little less than 35. I'm hoping we will meet that. I'm almost certain we will. I don't feel, I'm not worried about that at all. Here's our avgas sales in gallons. This is avgas. And I showed you the numbers earlier, but there they are in the graph. I love these graphs. They're really good. And then let's see, and then going on down, going on up probably. There's avgas, and then there's the jet up there. It shows the budgeted amount. The red, of course, actual year to date and actual month. So I'm still feeling good even with the situation we're in. The numbers are looking good, in my opinion. We're trying to watch expenses as much as we can. We've got some maintenance items that we're taking care of. We're trying to do that as cost effective as possible. So, are there any questions? Okay, I'll stop sharing there. As far as the capital improvement project updates, we're still looking forward to getting the taxiway Alpha project going on the west side. As you recall, when we put it out to bid, we had bid it as 3 schedules: Schedule A, Schedule B, and Schedule C. And Schedule A was the taxiway west half, and Schedule C was the localizer. And that was about all that the FAA was going to fund us. Well, we got word yesterday from GDOT that the FAA is wanting to fund Schedule B now, which we're happy. And been talking to Jacob, talked to GDOT. So I mean, that's a positive. I think we're the first project out of the gate, is what I've heard, and that means a lot. I think, that they would think of us, in that respect, and put that money up there for us, especially since we had, things going and bids and whatnot. But so right now, I don't know where that's going to fall, but as far as as far as a start with that, and there's still a lot of paperwork to do. But as far as Schedule A and C, we're still on track for that. The marketing and outreach activities. Thursday, I was on the Gwen O'Looney's show, WXAG 92.7, and it was about a 30-minute interview. It was about 12 noon to 12:30, I guess. I think it went well. I've done radio before, but she's very interesting, and I really enjoyed talking with her. I really did. Nice lady. Very interested in the airport, and you could tell, when she was talking to you. I don't see Josh on, but I can talk a little bit about.
Mike,
Yeah,
Mike, could I quickly comment? And I will try to make some effort to see if we can get you on that radio show, because I know Rick Dunn, to see if we can get you on at a different time so we have a totally different audience seeing a different perspective of the airport, if that's okay with you.
Heck yeah, absolutely.
With him, yeah.
That would be great. I appreciate that. Yeah, just let me know.
All right.
Thank you. We had a little COVID-19 scare here, but it all worked out. We had one part-timer, that was diagnosed with COVID. He wasn't around much. I mean, he's still here, but he got out, and but we still had to quarantine, and everybody here was negative. So, but we still had to quarantine the 3 that were around him, and we normally wear our masks, and everybody's diligent about that, inside the terminal and outside too. But we do take them off to drink or to eat, and so there it was. I guess that was the exposure, and so. And there were our 3 full-time folks. We only have 5, so we had a lot of part-time folks. But we all got together, management team got together, Angela, myself. We came up with a solution to just pulling in 2 of our past part-time folks who are no longer with us, but they have full-time jobs and they're willing to help out. And one's ARF qualified, with the firefighting. So that was good because these 3 full-time folks are qualified, and we still had charters coming in. So that was an issue we had to deal with. So, I mean, in the end, we thought they'd be out for about 2 weeks, but CDC came down with another policy, I guess, and it was more like 10 days, I think, if you had it. I can't remember, 10 days and 7 days, but yeah, 7 days if you tested negative, and then 10 if you did. And so it shortened it a good bit. So we didn't really miss a lick. I mean, everything, and it was busy still, and we were just lucky to get those 2 in, and they were willing to help. So yeah, well, at least we know what to do if, but they also got some shots. So, they are firefighters, so they did fit in that category. So they got their first shots last week, and then hopefully next couple of weeks they'll get their second, and then don't have to worry about it with them. And then the hangar lease inspections and update. We're still working on that. December was the month when we wanted to get all the hangar leases in. We were doing the inspections. January, we put out a notice that, those that we didn't get from, we would definitely be contacting. And that's what we've been doing, is contacting those folks and working with them and trying to get that. Again, these are T-hanger leases. These aren't the standalone hangars. That's a whole separate lease in its own. So just want to kind of remind you of that. So as far as the T-hangers, we still have a few leases that we have to get. And then February, if there's those that just, for some reason, just don't like signing leases, we'll have to really get some letters out and, kind of make some demand letters, I guess. So that's our plan there. And that's all I have right now. Any questions? Well, let me mention one thing though, and this is something that just came, that I just started working on, and this is actually something that the question that I have for a survey. I talked to Les about this last week, because he and I several months ago, I mean, it's probably been a year, talked about the Athens-Clarke County survey that's put out once a year, and we came up with kind of a good survey question at that time, and I finally found it. I did find it, Les, but the question has to do with the Air Service Development Committees, and I hadn't talked to Grant about it at all, but there is a survey that Athens-Clarke County puts out, and it's about every year, I think. And the survey, what do they call it? And it goes out to just about everybody, but they call it Athens-Clarke County 2020 Community Survey, and it's from, I mean, everything. It's Athens-Clarke County, a good place to live, excellent, good, fair. But there's a spot, where you can also put in a question as far as rate it, likely, not likely, that kind of thing. But I wanted the authority to kind of think about, and we don't have to talk about it today, but I will be sending out emails and hopefully, get some feedback on a question that we could use for this survey. And I think one is kind of close, Les, I think that we talked about, was how likely would you be to fly commercial from Athens to another major hub when planning a trip? And so that was one of the questions I think we were trying to put on there. I talked to Joseph D'Angelo, and he's the one that is putting this together. Hey, Josh. He's the one that's putting this together, and so he said he'd like to have all these questions and whatnot for the survey in, by February 1st. Go ahead, Les.
When we talked, and I'm glad Josh is on, when we talked about this was more going to be a perception survey, and it was to somehow in one question, and it was tied to our marketing and outreach. It wasn't meant to be air service development. It was just some way to see if we're reaching out to the community and they have a good perception of the airport. And so I think we never really ended up having gotten one, but I think the purpose is a little different than asking, it's not an air service development, but it was supposed to be, at least in my opinion, maybe Josh can reiterate, but it was more, what do you think of the airport? And that's hard to come up with one question, but it'd be almost like leisure services. Is it something like, does the airport add value to the community? I don't know the exact words, but so at least, and I may be wrong, Mike, but the very specific air service development was not, I think, the intent of. It was more perception, whatever that means, of the airport.
And that's why I'm bringing it to you, because there could be some questions or survey questions that we can only come up with one, so make it a real good one. But something, and some of these that they have is like you could rate it excellent, good, fair, poor, don't know, or very likely, somewhat unlikely. So that's the categories that I've seen.
And that's where I'm thinking and I don't know that this is the right question, but is the airport a valuable contributor to the community or a valuable resource? And maybe we yield. Josh, don't mean to put you on the spot, but
yeah, I've done can y'all hear me all right?
We can hear you.
All right, sorry I'm late, y'all. I've done a few of these in other communities, and I think, Les, you're right, this is a kind of a resident perception survey. So one of the challenges you're going to have is if you have one question, because we've got a very few kind of potential open-ended new questions. So kind of just some background. Our goal is to ask the same questions every other year so we get a baseline. And then we use this baseline to then get benchmarks with other communities across the country. And so that's why there's so little area for new questions. We do have room for new questions, anywhere between 3 and 6, depending on kind of the length. And so we have sent this survey to mayor and commission and asked them if they have any questions. And every step of the way, I've told everybody, the airport authority, they've got a question, because y'all have been the only one that brought it up to me. So I appreciate that. And so when you think about the question, you want to think about, do you expect the typical person in Athens-Clarke County to have been to the airport, right? So are they going to be able to have a response if you ask a certain question? And is that response necessitated based on whether they've been there or not? And so you might be best served to ask more of a broad question of, have you heard of the airport, or have you been to the airport? And if so, A, B, C, or D, right? Because then what you'll find out is someone hasn't been there in the last 5 years, if you say that, right? And you kind of get 2 questions in one. That might be one way to do it. But I think in general, you're getting a broad perception of, what does a resident think of the airport? Do they find value in it? And then you get some gravy if you can get a sense of if they've been there in the last 5 years and enjoyed it, so that could be it.
Okay. All right. Well, again, think about it. I know I'm just putting this on you right now, so we don't have to hash through it right now, but think about it, and I'm gonna start sending out an email, get some dialogue, probably tomorrow, and because Joseph would like to get this back by February 1st, and then we can have something in there.
So Mike, based on that, your deadline really for getting it in February 1st is either Friday or Monday, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you can think of something, I mean, tomorrow's Wednesday. If I could get it Thursday, I mean, that'd be great. And I can get it to Joseph. And I know I need to send it to Josh too. So both of them will get it.
Anybody have any other input or questions for Mike or Josh on that? All right.
One thing I was going to mention, Josh, one of the things that was on the airport manager report is a COVID-19 update. I gave an update for the airport. Do you have anything on your end?
I think, like everybody, we're very interested in the vaccine rollout, and we're encouraged by how many residents who are interested in getting a vaccine. I think we're still in phase 3. And as we look at this and we think about the future, some of the big questions that are coming up for us are, what does it mean for summer camps? What does it mean for rentals of facilities? And at what point do you begin to open that up based on vaccination rates? And so these are some of the broader questions we're looking at. We're not looking at going backwards to phase 2 at this point based on what we're experiencing. We're holding at phase 3. And that leaves a lot of that discretion up to the director, the airport manager, in keeping the airport safe. I think what we're all really wanting to see is what kind of impact does vaccine rollout have, and at what date are we to, a wide availability of the vaccine, and that will help us determine some of those other bigger questions in terms of kind of the things I mentioned earlier. And we're going to be leaning on our team of epidemiologists to help inform that decision. So those are bigger decisions around the corner. But I think where we're at right now is kind of where we've been, and that's continuing to exercise safety, keeping our employees safe, and making sure we encourage masks and social distancing. And I think Mike's doing a great job with his team on that front. That's all I got.
All right. Let's see. Old business, item D, DA, approved bylaws. As everyone remembers, we approved the bylaws previously, and just this is a note to let everybody know that those bylaws are now posted on our website, which is flyahn.com, or the ACC.gov/Athens/airport sites. And then it's under online documents there, so that's posted. Any questions on that? The next one, we're going to go back to Mike here, is the annual report. And this is mainly just in regard to distribution of the annual report that's been completed. So Mike, I think you had a update there.
Yeah, thank you. So it's out, on the website, and we did send it to the printer, and we checked on it today. He's still working on it. He's going to put a rush on that though for us, because we really need to get that out. So we're gonna keep in touch with him and make sure that we get it within the next, hopefully, week or so. Once we do, then I'm going to send it out to the chamber and all the different folks that work with us, that could distribute some of this as they see the need. So, yeah, it's all good information, and we're looking forward to getting that printed copy out. I'm going to send it to GDOT as well. They do have it, but they did request some printed copies as well. So get that.
How many copies, Mike, were they doing?
I can't remember what we talked about. I have to look back on my email and see.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a whole lot. I mean, it was a good handful that we could distribute, but I wasn't going to go overboard with it. And, if I needed to print more, then he could.
Anybody, any other questions on that one? The next one is Mike, you and Angela also. This is strategic results performance measures. This is specifically regarding just a brief update about ClearPoint implementation, training, data input.
Right. Angela, she's sitting right next to me. She did the ClearPoint training. She's very impressed with it. Thinks it's going to work out well, and we're excited that we have that avenue, that ClearPoint. I think it's going to work out well for the whole county as a whole, and us too. Yeah.
I just like to ask, when I went through the training, some of the departments, there were very few departments that had them loaded, and we were one of them. So
See, Angela, we can barely hear you.
Yeah, she's talking from mine.
I was just saying it was refreshing, because when I went through the training, there were very few departments that already had their measures loaded. We were one of them, and so the others they're still getting there. So we were a step ahead. So I was impressed by that. Good job, everybody.
So we got measures loaded. Is it basically implemented for the airport now?
Josh can speak to this, but I don't think they've started tracking. I think we're still in the training and the loading phase. Is that correct, Josh?
Yeah. So, our goal is for departments to update this quarterly. So, in theory, the airport is definitely leading the way and has their information in there. And then every quarter, we'll be, getting in there and having conversations with departments on their measures and on their strategic plan implementation. And so, as y'all think about this, that might be a good rhythm for you, is to have a quarterly update from Mike and Angela. And so that would be, you know, for the first quarter of this calendar year would probably be your first one, which represents our third quarter of the fiscal year, would be the first one I would expect the airport to have kind of gotten in the system, learned it, started making updates, and would have something to share with you. Internally, as an organization, we're having departments present once they have their strategic plan and measures in the system. We're having them present to our manager, Blaine Williams, and get his final approval. Not that that would change anything with the airport's plan, but that's kind of going to be our kind of internal intent to departments once they have information in, because everybody's in a different continuum, and you know, not every department's going to have a plan in the system this year. Airport does. So in your case, y'all have something to work with, which we're really excited about.
So based on that timing that Josh just gave, then I think that's in sync with what we were talking about. Diane mentioned with quarterly updates of our strategic plan initiatives.
Right, it was.
And so, Josh, with what you just said, I guess our plans would be end of March would be our first quarterly updates.
Yeah, and then you just want to coordinate with Mike and Angela to see how much time they need to get data through March into the system. And so that's your kind of turnaround time is, you know, do they need a week in April to do that, or do they, you know, I can't speak to that, so you'd have to ask them.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else on that one? Anyone? Questions? The next item, D is Lexington Corridor update. I've sent a couple of documents in my email. One was fairly lengthy. It's just a summary from Diane. If you remember this one right here, well, no, you can't read it from that, but summary from Diane, since she's heavily involved in that project. I think what she was looking for here is just mainly share that the timeline has changed some, and that was also something that I shared from ACC there. The timeline now is where Mayor and Josh, help me here if you have any updates or corrections to what I'm saying, because I think Diane was just encouraging us again to give our input as members of the Airport Authority for this important effort. So it has a Mayor and Commission update. January 12th, that's already passed, advertised on February 1st. And then I think the important one is online input opportunities and in-person sessions, February 15th through March 22nd, and then user group deliberation in April and priority recommendations come May. So the timeline is shifted out a little bit. Josh, I think you're shaking your head. I'm roughly correct there. Anything you might want to add there?
Yes, sir, Keith. Yeah, you're correct. I think that's how y'all can think about it. We're entering in the engagement period of these projects, and so you got Atlanta Highway and Lexington Highway, and surveys will be posted online, and staff will be coordinating in-person sessions. And I think it would be great to have y'all spread the word for all these items, but also take it yourself. So I think to have the Airport Authority share that there is a survey available, that there are on-site opportunities, virtual opportunities as well to learn more about the specific projects, all that would be greatly appreciated. And it'll be between mid-February and into April. So it'll be a good 2-month period that people will have. We'll have announcements in the water bills. We're going to try to get this in front of as many people as we can.
It sounds good. Let's see here. Anybody have any questions, input? Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to take it. I think we should a step further, as the entrance to the airport's probably the top dollar project. I went in, Keith, and there's not much out there yet about these projects. There's something called data sheets, which I think are going to be published. But I think rather than individual input from us, we as the Airport Authority at our next meeting should discuss, and I think it's primarily the entrance to the airport. We should discuss it, and I would suggest we take a formal vote, support, not support it. And being transparent, in all honesty, I have some serious reservations personally about the entrance to the airport, which we could talk about in the February meeting. But I think it'd really be helpful if we, as an organization, besides doing everything Josh said, take a position on these. The other projects are primarily trails around the airport, but the entrance to the airport really impacts the airport. It will impact the operations. So I didn't know if I should make a formal motion. The other thing we need is more data. We need these data sheets. And I've tried to get the master plan for the airport. I couldn't get it to download from the website. And this may be urban legend, but David's maybe the only one who's been around who might have heard it. It is my belief that in the master plan, it's been very laid out that an entrance to the airport would be built along with the brand new terminal, so that this would essentially not be a road to nowhere. So I think it'd be great to be able to somehow get our hands on the master plan, which I don't know, Keith, do you think we need a formal motion from me, or do we just want to, does this make sense to anyone? And how do we want to proceed?
Yeah, I think, I don't know that we need a motion, because this would be the same idea as that each month when we're putting together the agenda, the members suggest, and we just add the agenda unless anyone thinks otherwise. I'm trying to answer your question, unless I don't think we need a vote on that. Anyone else?
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. It'd be a discussion. There's some things out there that Derek with Splost has put together as well. Some drawings as far as roads and frontage and things that, probably like to look at, I'm sure. In my opinion, and looking at other airports, I mean, I was just there in St. Simons. I know, Keith, you were there too. If you go around their airport, they've got several entrances, even on an airport business park, and it doesn't have to be aviation related either. They have all sorts of things, but they do pay rent, and it's good revenue for the airport because it's on airport property as far as, the FAA is concerned. So, all that's good. Even just having an entrance road, you build a road and people will hopefully come. But anyway, yeah, it's a good discussion.
So unless any other comments from anyone else, I guess we'll plan to add that to the agenda. But any other comments? Robert, Grant, David?
No.
What about the thought that the airport actually, as a group, votes and then would actually provide that vote as public input, just like the chamber might or some other organization?
I mean, it does seem like that needs to be, us as a group need to agree, it would seem. So I guess I've got some notes here. We plan to add this to the agenda for February. I think the timing fits pretty well. Josh, since I know Diane's not here, I know there's been some amount of work to look at some options with where the entrances could be, but that's too early right now. There's not any other resources available in line with what Les is asking for, correct?
So, one option you could do is you could have Splost present. You could have our Splost office present the actual engagement package they have, because I'm trying to think when your next meeting is end of February. It will be posted by then. And so we could have Derek or someone else come and present what they have online.
That'd be good.
And then y'all could see all the data that's out there. I know Diane has been a part of that. And so I know the user groups have seen the project concept data that they're going to be populating it with, but it's still not complete. So that's what we're really shooting for early February, is to have all the information into the website. But we do know that not everybody's going to interact with the website. But I would encourage you all, maybe Mike can reach out to Derek and we can coordinate something so y'all can kind of get everything that Splost has and that they've been discussing in the Lexington Lexington Highway User Group. And I think, the idea here is we're trying to get all the engagement we can and all the information we can to then compile to give back to the user group, who is then going to prioritize the projects based on what they've heard, and then present that to mayor and commission, who's then going to make the final decision. So that's kind of the overall process that we're going through here. And in each case, there's not nearly enough money to do everything on these lists, even, one or two things in some cases. So there will be a lot of kind of discussions which will then inform T-Splost and other things as we come in. And some of these projects might not get done now, but might be T-Splost projects in the future.
Sounds good. All right, well, so we'll work toward that. We'll connect with Diane also when she's back, and we'll plan to cover that topic. Anything else on that one?
Can I work, Mike, with you or Angela, just to somehow get the master plan maybe out on the Google Drive somewhere? Because when I went on the website, it's just the circle of doom. It just kept going, spinning. It is out there, but it's hard to find.
Yeah, it is very big, and that's probably why it's a lot of it's very big file. So yeah, but yeah, no doubt we can do that.
Anything else on that one? Then the next, go down to new business and E. The first item there, strategic plan status. That's our strategic initiatives. You know, we've talked about this earlier. And also at our last meeting, I think Diane had some input about this with doing a more of a formal review once quarterly. It sounds like that jibes with the new plan with ClearPoint. So I have been working with some of the members, getting some updates to the initiatives and where the status is and all that. Didn't really want to get into that here with Diane, not on this meeting, since that would basically be like doing an update, but I think we'll plan an update for each quarter. And I'm working with members to get some of that information. Also, Angela had some input for me, so we will discuss that. I'm assuming that Diane will cover more about that at the February meeting. Any questions on that? The next one is involves everybody here. B is the 2021 committee assignments. And I know this was an attachment that I think I also sent out to everyone in the email. Down at the bottom, it just summarizes, and just for the record here, we've got Diane Napier as the chair of the airport authority for this new year. And she made a note that we're using the committee names as specified by Blaine Williams in some previous communications. So the first committee that we've got is business finance. Keith Sanders is chair of that one. Mike Matthews will be involved, and Diane said that she's going to be ex officio member of each of the committees, which is mentioned in the bylaws. So then the next committee, operating. So David Asman as chair with Robert Miles, and then services development / marketing. Grant Tribble as chair with working with Mike Matthews and Les Schindelman. And then Angela Dalton has agreed to be secretary again for 2021. So, so what we do here as an action is to take a vote. Well, I think I need someone to make a motion to that we vote on this as a group to approve of all the new members here in these committees. So do I have someone who wants to make a motion to vote?
Second.
Okay, Grant, you want second?
Second.
Okay, Robert, second. I guess a raise of hands if you agree with the members here and the plans that we've got, plus Angela as secretary. So we've got Keith, Robert, Grant, David, Les. So we've got 5, which is enough. All right, so that is approved. And Diane just asked to share that in the bylaws, it has in Article 5 on page 3, I was looking, it has something that we all probably should just look back at, if you will, about guidelines for when committees, not just the authority, but committees may need to publish meetings and meeting information. So if you just take a look at that, that's on, I think it's page 3, the last paragraph in the bylaws. So any question, anything else about for committee assignments? All right, then the next one I think is a big one. It's C, zoning review. We've got a couple of items that were introduced. Mike was asked to have these covered, or the airport authority to look at these. So, David, I think you're involved. We're going to turn it over to you. We've got two different items. One is at 427 Little Oak Street, and the other one is 252 Georgia Drive. And I guess, David, as you're talking, maybe give us what you know as far as when the authority or when we need to give any feedback to the Planning Commission.
Yeah, so thank you, Keith. The way these come through, when somebody applies for their building permits, they go through the planning department. Planning department sees what areas, what districts, what zones, what ordinances are affected, and then reaches out to the various parts of the government to get these recommendations. I don't know if you and Grant had seen one yet on one of these coming through. Maybe you have. The two that Mike had sent out, one is at 437 Little Oak Street. One is at 252 Georgia Drive. These are pretty nearby one another. They're both west of the airport, north of Lexington, about a mile to a mile and a half away from the departure end of runway 27 or the approach end of runway 9, whichever aspect you're looking at it. The larger property, the 437 Oak Street, is a 10.42 acre site plan to include 37 lots, subdivision to include 37 lots, and about 7.5 acres of that 10.42 exists within our AZ2 overlay. That is a designation given to a non-precision approach zone overlay. Our zoning ordinance requires a 1 acre minimum lot size within that AZ2 overlay. The operations committee makes the recommendation to not approve the proposed development. Moving on to the 252 Georgia Drive property, that's a 0.40 acre site plan. Has one existing single family residence on it. They're looking to add a multifamily duplex to the property. The entire property exists within the AZ2 overlay, and the zoning ordinance prohibits multifamily dwellings within that overlay. The operations committee makes the recommendation to not approve the proposed development at 252 Georgia Drive. So that's what Robert and I and Mike had discussed and Angela had discussed. We make that recommendation now to not approve either of those developments to the rest of the authority. It's now the authority's job to make that recommendation to the mayor and commission as a whole. So somebody would make that motion. I'm not sure it can be me.
Okay. Do we need any discussion? Is there any discussion before
Sure.
we start?
By all means, it's the operations committee that makes the recommendation. If there's any discussion, if there's any questions, by all means.
Then you'll need a second too. You'll need a second.
Okay. If before we make the motion, any questions or discussion?
So, okay, go ahead. No, I was talking to Angela. She said the motion's already been made by David. So just a second then, right? Yeah.
Okay. We have Grant. Were you looking to say something or?
I was just going to ask, since I'm new to this, if the authority makes a recommendation or makes a recommendation not to accept, does that mean it's done, or can somebody override that?
No, we're an advisory council to the mayor and commission. So very specifically in the zoning ordinance, it talks about that we're just one piece of the pie that goes on to the mayor and commission. Even if we did approve something, it's still any special use there are delineated lists of special uses. They would still have to be approved specifically by the mayor and commission.
And from us, it actually goes to the planning, and then they make a recommendation as well, and then all of that goes to the mayor and commission.
Thank you.
So, planning could say yay or nay against us or for us, and then it goes to mayor and commission.
All right, so we have David has made the motion. We have a second. Take a vote. Les? Okay. So take a vote here. Everyone agree with David in favor of denying? I guess do we need both? Do we need to do these separately, or I'm assuming we can do these as a group?
Separately.
Separately. Okay, so for the, and David, is it 427 Little Oak Street or 437?
It's 437.
437. 437.
I think the agenda has it wrong.
Okay, so on the motion to deny 437, the approval and not approve it on that motion, raise your hand if you're in agreement with David's recommendation not to approve 437. Okay, we've got Keith, Grant, David, Les, and Robert. Then on 252 Georgia Drive, everyone raise your hand if you agree with the recommendation that we also do not approve that one either. Raise your hand. So we got Keith, Grant, David, Les, Robert also.
And you'll need a second on those too, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Like a motion and then a second, and then.
Okay, I didn't. So we had David made the motion. Anyone to second that motion that we just took the vote on? Okay, so Les does. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so both. So we our recommendation is to not approve either one of those two zoning changes. So, anything else on this one?
Just as a slight point of clarity. It wasn't David's recommendation. It's the operations committee's recommendation.
Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Yes,
yes, right.
Okay. I bet Angela gets it right in the minutes.
I'm sure she does. That's why we pay her the big bucks.
All right.
Yeah.
Does Angela are we good on this one? No, that's a big one. Angela, anything else just on that one? Okay, we're good.
You gave me a thumbs up. We're good.
All right. So the last item we have for today is item D, Google Drive. And Les, I think you just wanted to talk about that one. You had some questions for the group here, and we'll turn it over to you, Les.
Okay, I'll be very brief. We have used Google Drive since 2017 to store most of the key documents that we've been talking about. And David, working with me, when we joined the authority, created this in 2017. Up to then, it was very hard to access any key documents. So I've been maintaining this for the past 3.5 years. It's not a big effort, takes about 15, 20 minutes max in a month. But I think someone needs to pick it up, be it another authority member or probably staff. So I'm just raising that issue. And I just want to propose what I would plan. So the question is, who wants to take it over? And then just remind people why we use it. It's to store data, like annual report, stuff that we used to pass out in this airport authority book that probably took hours to create. And you and Grant didn't get that. We actually used Google Drive, but Angela used to prepare this big, thick notebook for all of us. So one was to store data. The second, which I don't think we've used effectively, is to collaborate. So we have had some documents like the RFP we used to hire Mead and Hunt. When we did SCASDEP, we actually had people going in and just taking great advantage of making comments and updating. And then the third thing we found out, it's very hard to send large documents back and forth to ACC Gov because, correct me, but I think it's it's not very big files that you can transfer. So a lot of times it bounces. So, I think Google Drive is still pretty necessary. So I plan on doing this. It's gotten a bit out of control. It's cluttered. So I'm going to reorganize it. And then I thought maybe next meeting, just take 5-10 minutes and show everyone how it looks. And maybe we can then figure out who wants to pick up maintaining it. So bottom line, the question is, can someone take it over so that this continues? It's a very small task, 15, maybe the worst case, 30 minutes a month.
Set it on mute. I'm sure someone that can take it over. I think, like you said last, if we can do a vote on that in the next meeting, just exactly like you said, you're gonna want to go in, do some things with it, kind of do a little review, and then by then that also allows us a chance to include Diane with this. I don't know what maybe her thoughts with that. So Mike, I think that kind of makes sense. You and I talked about this a little bit. So Les, if you're in agreement with what you said last week, let's put it on the agenda for February. If you can have a presentation on that topic, review it, and then we'll plan to tie down who can handle it.
Yeah, Mike and I, and we've all talked, so it's not a big task, and I'll clean it up, and we can decide what we want to do with it.
Okay. Anyone have any other questions, thoughts while we're talking about Google Drive? I know that's been a real good effort. Les, you've done a lot of good things with that, and along with other folks. So any other questions or thoughts on it? All right, so we'll plan to do that. I don't think we need a vote or motion on that. We'll just add that to the agenda. And I think that's our last item. Did I miss anything? Anybody? So then we're down to adjourning. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Anybody? Okay, Les raised his hand, and then David raised his hand as a second. Everybody vote, raise your hand if you agree to adjourn the meeting. Okay, we've got everybody, Keith, Grant, David, Les, and Robert. All right, so the meeting is adjourned. Thanks very much, everybody.
Well, thank you. See you later, everybody.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you.